I'm not sure if we'll talk a lot about it in this segment, but it's Austin and I share a birthday today, so this is the special birthday edition.
Happy birthday
Woo!
to both of you.
Fun times, right? Yeah.
All right. Welcome everybody to TAG Cafeteria, Technology Alliance Group for Northwest Washington. We do a weekly sort of radio show, happy hour / lunch hour Zoom, where we get to chat about what's going on in our community, as well as talk with folks in the community and topics through these series. Our theme for today is get to know our membership committee, and we have some special guests here. We have Austin Baar from Whatcom IT, and Garth Johnson from DIS, and Carl Willis-Ford from General Dynamics and Whatcom Community College. And we're gonna start with just some introductions. So I'll kind of do a go around the room and queue up some folks to give us your best elevator pitch at the moment, and add something interesting to share to the group. Austin, I'll start off with you.
Sure, why not? Thank goodness for those wonderful chamber meetings where I'm able to give this elevator pitch over and over and over. I own Whatcom IT here in Linden, Washington, but we cover all of Whatcom County. Just managed service provider, I guess you would say, MSP. We support all things from local small businesses to larger businesses and even out-of-state businesses, surprisingly enough. I also run the Whatcom IT professionals meetup group here locally. We're sitting about, I think we're about 250 members or close to it now on the meetup page. But we can't meet up in person, so we're doing a lot of virtual stuff. And in fact, we should have one coming up next week, Tuesday. So that'll be really cool. Also, I'm sure Michael will talk about it a little bit more, but we have the TAG mentorship program in full swing, and we are definitely looking for students or non-students to apply for a mentee position, and also mentors, of course. So yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I do a lot of, recently I started podcasting again. I started streaming again, and it's really cool. I have all my old fan base coming back, so that's a lot of fun. So just a lot of fun online presence and hanging out with a lot of cool people. And yeah, that's my quick sales pitch of who I am.
Awesome. You did wonderfully. I feel like I'm in a chamber right now.
Oh yeah.
And we'll talk more in depth with Austin, Carl, and Garth right after this segment and news and announcements and whatnot. Dustin, I'll pitch it to you.
Hey, Dustin Masters. I've been in Bellingham for, I guess, 8 years now. I used to work at a company called Faith Life in downtown. Hey, Aaron, I see you. Aaron and I used to be coworkers for a while. I now work remotely for a company called Olo out of New York City, but I'm full-time remote here in Bellingham. So my work day starts at 9 a.m. Eastern. It's a 6 a.m. start here, but then ends at 3. So I'm not expected to work beyond the East Coast work day. And yeah, Bellingham's great. What I miss? Is that it?
You did wonderful.
Heidi.
Thanks. Carl?
So I'm Carl Willis-Ford. My more than full-time day job is with General Dynamics Information Technology, where I'm a solutions architect. But then I'm also adjunct faculty at Whatcom Community College in their cybersecurity program, and soon to be full-time faculty, retiring from GDIT at the end of August after 23 years.
Wow, awesome. Cool, and we'll definitely explore that more. Garth.
Hi, I'm Garth Johnson. I'm also a member of the membership committee with TAG. Very excited about all of our STEM education outreach and what we're doing there. I work at DIS as Developer Operations Lead. I'm also one of the organizers for the local Linux Fest Northwest. And I'm really looking forward to what we can get done here in this community to add a little more technology into the students' hands.
Awesome. Thanks, Garth. Chris?
I'm Chris Powell. I'm a Canvas LMS admin for Western Washington University during the day. I got a little bit of a freelance technology consulting business outside of Western. I'm a technology teacher with Whatcom Community College Community Ed for folks who our lifelong learners and other folks. I'm their Google instructor, and I'm getting into the realm of talking about online security for home users, or for the rest of us, I should say. And outside of that, I'm a co-host of the Bellingham podcast, and currently I am being entranced by Tori's Zoom backgrounds. That is like totally mesmerizing and things right now. So that's me.
I'll go next to explain this. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yep.
I don't know. I'm streaming a Twitch teaser right now for Assassin's Creed game of 2020 from Ubisoft. And currently, this is becoming a woman/man, and we don't know what the protagonist is going to be.
Wow.
So, Tori's jazzed right now. Still doing cybersecurity school. I'm pretty familiar with all of you guys, so I feel like I'm just reintroducing myself several times. But
you can make it quick.
What's that?
You can make it quick and talk about something new that we haven't talked about for the last week.
I've got nothing.
All right. Well, you're welcome to think about something and include it later. So, Eric.
So my name is Eric McFrazier. I am the president and founder of Pacific IT Support. We are a technology company that assists small businesses with aligning their technology, helping clean up processes, and hopefully drive business and profits. We are based out of Hawaii. I actually live in Whatcom County, and have not been able to go to Hawaii recently, so kind of bummed about not getting some surfing time. But you know, all of our team works remotely right now, and kind of pivoting on Office 365 focus, and definitely more cloud technologies that assist users with being able to deal with, businesses to deal with what's going on currently, and also looking at solutions for dealing with rolling shelter in places, which is something that we might be dealing with. But aloha to everybody.
Thanks, Eric. Ryan, want to jump in?
Hey, I'm Ryan. I'm a software engineer working remotely for a local manufacturer. We make custom photo orthoses. Staying busy and wearing several different hats. My other things I've done in the community, I've been a mentor for the local high school robotics team for about 5 years. During the summer, I've been going to an oncology camp for cancer survivors in the Idaho and Spokane area, which has been really interesting. And then lately I've been remotely helping a project to bring any device solutions for secure video conferencing, potentially to healthcare workers that are fighting COVID.
Thanks, Ryan. Aaron?
I'm Aaron Dutton. I work at Faithlife as an IT manager. I have a background in programming. When I came to Faithlife, that's what I was doing. We're currently working all remote, which is pretty good. Like 95% of our employees are remote. So I'm in my dining room. And I volunteer in computer science at Seaholm High School. So there's an intro to computer science class. I'm volunteering there. And then I enjoy playing a game called Kayak Polo, which is it's like basketball in the water with whitewater kayaks. So I'm happy to talk about that at any time.
So it sounds like almost exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's a full contact sport. There's a lot of safety equipment. It's a lot of fun.
Is that in a pool or?
No, it's in Bellingham Bay.
Wow.
I'll post some videos. We have some good videos.
I would love to see a video of that.
Yeah, I'll put it
that
in
is
the,
awesome.
Discord.
Yeah, I did that for a little while as well, but it was really intense. So good on you.
Is there a referee involved? I'm so curious.
No, it's just a pickup game.
Yeah. Okay. And we have Jeff here. You want to jump in, Jeff?
Thanks. Sorry, the laptop wasn't working with the headset, so no video today. Jeff Cook, work for a security consulting firm, IT security consulting firm, full-time remote. Same issue, they start 9 a.m. on East Coast time, so I get to get up early, but I get to get off early too. Thanks.
Awesome. That sounds like a perk that you have now, while we all work remote, and we don't get that. So, but at least we're avoiding the scenario of working on East Coast time and West Coast time at the same time. So, we're gonna transition to sort of news and announcements for the week. The big news that I wanted to share with TAG Community News was our consulting and mentorship programs, and we'll talk a little bit more about that since we have the membership committee here. So I'll just be real brief on that, and we'll explore more. But we've launched our mentorship program, and applications are open now to mentee or mentor in the program, and we're hoping to do the batches shortly in May, and then have that continue on in spring and throughout the summer. And it's sort of a pilot process at the moment, and then relaunch in fall and follow the collegiate calendar. So we're excited about that. So if you are a student or professional interested to be mentored, please apply. And if you are interested in mentoring some of those folks, also please apply, and we'll be matching folks with interests, shared interests and experiences and whatnot. Consulting is another program we've launched in the last few weeks, to provide free technology consulting for nonprofits, as well as consulting for just our open to the community by donation. And that process is underway, and we're sort of starting our first few projects now. And I'll be able to share a little bit more in the coming weeks. But generally, the purpose is for us to harness the power of our sort of vast professional technology professionals and assist nonprofits in our community that are in need. So if this sounds like something you'd like to be involved in, just reach out, and we'll have some information on how to do that. But you can go to our website, tagnw.org/contact, and do a quick sort of inquiry, or you can go straight to the consulting page, and if you're a business, and apply for us to assist. And a lot of the details on the program are detailed on the website. In a sort of a quick teaser, topical, last few months, probably about last month for sure, we've been working on a STEM project, and those projects are essentially seeing TAG expand more in STEM programming directions. And so for a little bit of a teaser, and we'll talk a little bit more about this with Garth, around the end of the year in December, we got together as the membership committee and talked about the goals we had for the upcoming year, and STEM topics were on that list, and we're going to dive into it with Garth. He is essentially our STEM lead, and we'll talk more about how all that works in just a minute. I wanted to jump into just some brief events updates. We have Linux Fest happening now, and Garth will talk more about that in a minute. But next week, we have a bunch of our monthly programs coming back. We have Bellingham Bitcoin on Monday, Wacom IT Professionals on Tuesday, Bellingham Codes and BLUG on Thursday. And on next Monday, we also have the TAG Happy Hour, which is basically just an agendaless time for us to get together and hang out on Mondays, every Monday at 5, as well as next TAG Cafeteria next Wednesday will be a organizers, community group organizers conversation, and more details about that soon. And Aaron's shared his kayak polo video, so let's all watch that afterwards. Looks awesome. We're going to any questions on events, or do you have another event that you're working on that you wanted to add? Going. Great. So let's segue into the membership committee. So I've done a little bit of an introduction for these guys, but I'll redo that here now. So the TAG membership committee was formed around December of last year, and really we started kicking off a lot of the programs we've been working on really this April. And in that process, we had our annual meeting where we talked about a lot of the goals that we had for the upcoming year, and we've sort of formed a partnership in a lead committee scenario where we have collegiate and high school and middle school STEM aspirations, as well as the mentorship program that we've just launched, and as well as some community service ideas. And leading that, we have Austin Baar of Wacom IT leading the mentorship program, and we of course all support these as a group. Garth supporting STEM, and Carl supporting our community service, and those programs will sort of come underway shortly, as well as lots of other volunteers that kind of jump in and out from our other leadership committees, from events and marketing and things like that. But that's just kind of how that works. So we're going to do a get to know you session with these guys, and basically start from sort of your let's call it an adjusted elevator pitch idea, and then get a little bit more personal, kind of like a little bit about your background, what makes you tick a little bit, as well as some of the other things you've been working on, and anything else interesting you like to share. I have a few things that I'm going to drop on you, so I'm sure you know what they're going to be. What could I possibly bring up that you could be slightly off the cuff and embarrassed about? So with that, let's start with Austin. Let's go alphabetical.
Sure. I guess it's just get to know you, huh? So what specifically are you wanting to know?
Well, a little bit about just you as a person, what's brought you to Bellingham, and
Sure.
what you do, and also why you like to do what you do, and a little bit about some of your hopes and dreams on working with TAG.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's totally awesome. So I actually, what got me into IT, I guess, was modding games and learning how to cheat on video games in early 2002 to 2004. I was modding PlayStations, and I learned how Ethernet cables worked by splicing the cables and to hook them up to light switches from Home Depot to be able to turn the internet at the time, that my understanding of the internet, on and off in order to lag switch around in video games. And that kind of expanded into learning how to modify code within games themselves. I mean, back then, Sony wasn't too great on security on the PlayStation 2 days. So, learning how to mod code and change things how we want on CDs, and burning CDs was a big thing. I don't know if you folks remember burning CDs for music. You could do the same thing with games. You could change code. You could burn a video game onto a CD and get it going. So that kind of took off for me, and it was always kind of a closet hobby. A lot of you may know me. I'm 6'8". I'm kind of a big guy, kind of a rough and tough dude, and so most people didn't know I was kind of a closet gamer, and closet IT person. So I kind of took that and ran throughout the years privately. And in my early 20s, I spent some time traveling. I wanted to understand the human mind a little bit better. So I traveled around the United States. I've been to 48 states, and I've been to Mexico, Canada, and just kind of traveled around. I did so by surprisingly getting a Class A CDL and truck driving, and taking any time I could off in every major city. Nashville was always a fun place. There's always really cool, fun places, just kind of exploring the human evolution and exploring the different cultures we have. And we're so diverse here in this country, and people don't realize that. We have a lot of diverse cultures with a lot of different opinions on how people should live. So I kind of explored that, while at the same time I was still learning how to code. I bought books, and while I was driving, my time off my rig, I would just learn how to code. And that eventually led me to on the side, while working, surprisingly enough, owning a tie-dye company. After that, I started a tie-dye company and traveled up and down the West Coast making handmade specialized tie-dye from amazing cotton that was created in Honduras by companies who would jumpstart local economies, so they wouldn't just nickel and dime these people in third world countries. They would actually create an economy for them, create an infrastructure for them. So I was able to kind of participate in that. And while I was doing that, I started modding video games, AAA titles. And I was eventually, that led me to doing some contract work for some double and AAA titles. And from there, it kind of, I realized the opportunity in streaming and YouTubing, and I started getting involved in big game tournaments. And I traveled down to San Diego for like the 2015 and 16 TwitchCon tournaments, where I played in $1 million tournaments and just kind of screwed around and playing video games. I mean, I got my butt kicked, but it was still a load of fun. I didn't make any money, but it was still a load of fun. So, that kind of expanded, and I realized that I thought I wanted to make video games, and I realized there was no money in it. There was it's a tough kind of field. It's a tough industry. And so I kind of shifted that, and I realized all my skills could be transferred over. So to the business IT realm. So I took those skills and I put myself through school, and I paid for school while making games, modding games, and from different streaming revenues. So that was really cool. Kind of lived a unusual life in that regard. And I was able to use a lot of skill sets I learned in my younger years and kind of apply them into the business world. More recently, I got 2 degrees, and I was able to utilize that to finish out my internship locally here for a local IT company, and worked for them for about a year. Did about a year internship. Before that, maybe 9 months, and spent a year with a local company here. And then decided to start my own company, and just kind of went for it. Did pretty well. And I mean, obviously crypto was a big thing for me. I invested in crypto and used a lot of my crypto funding to fund my own company. So that was kind of cool. So it's just kind of a weird, unique road, right? And my involvement in future with TAG, I love TAG. I love what they do. My vision of helping out the community, I like to give back to the community. And that's something that's very important and passionate to me. I believe that knowledge should not be hoarded, and I believe knowledge should be spread about. I'm a firm believer in that, and I think it always comes back and helps you long term. There's some IT companies and there's some software development companies. A lot of people that believe in locking down information, proprietary information, and to a degree, I understand. However, I believe I'm a huge believer in freedom of information, and so being able to spread this freedom of information about locally, and being able to collaborate and create learning environments and working with TAG was a huge thing. And we have a lot of cool projects coming up, and I'm really excited. And I'm very happy to be working with the people I am in TAG right now, with Michael, Carl, Garth, and I know Chris is doing some awesome things in the background too. There's a lot of awesome people in this organization that have the same vision as I do. And so that's really cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Austin.
Yep.
So your on the spot moment. So your online persona now makes a little more sense.
Sure.
From that story, tell us what that is, and what you like to do when you're not working and giving back to the community.
Sure. So from the tie-dye company, I created this persona called the tie-dye dude. And it's just a fun-loving hippie guy that just goes on and plays video games and hangs out with people. So that is my online persona. It's more shifted toward who I am as a person now. It used to be more of a character back in the day. And it was more of an acting character position. And now it's kind of shifted into melding with my personal life, which is fine. I just hanging out. And more recently, We just started a little podcast to discuss unworldly things. We're just talking about, I'm opening up the door in discussion to things I normally wouldn't. And it's kind of interesting. Advanced sciences, UFOs, aliens, man, History Channel aliens, man. So we're just kind of opening up the door to kind of checking out a bunch of different weird things, And I actually have a couple of guests already lined up for the next couple of podcasts. So our first one, we had 65 to 100 viewers the whole time it is live. So that was pretty cool. That was awesome.
What's the name of your podcast?
Unworldly Encounters. It's a live.
Unworldly Encounters.
Yeah, it's actually live. So we're doing it on Twitch. We did our first one Sunday, or I didn't have any guests for the first one, and I think it was pretty much I thought it was a disaster. Some people said it was okay, but I thought it was a disaster. You need a guest, So we have a couple lined up already, and we're pretty excited. So it's all for fun. It's all about opening up your mind. For the record, I have my own beliefs, and I don't believe all of it. So I have my own biases. So.
As we all do, but
as we all do.
Yeah, I'm sure watching a train wreck could potentially be enjoyable in itself, but I'm sure.
Oh, dramatics! People love drama on the internet.
I'm sure you make it both entertaining and enjoyable. Looking forward to checking one out.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thanks, Austin. Carl, tell us a little bit more about your journey to Bellingham. You're sort of a more recent transplant, as well as your pending life change, and
Sure.
and just a little bit more about what you're up to.
So going way back, I'm an ex-Navy nuclear reactor operator. I served on fast attack submarines, chasing Soviet submarines around the Pacific Ocean for 8.5 years. Completely different world. Seems strange by now. I've been a federal IT services contractor for 23 plus years. After I got...
Oh, you muted yourself. One moment.
Yep, I'm back. I'm still learning the technology here. But after I got out of the Navy, I worked at the shipyard down in Bremerton for a while. And that was my first experience with Western Washington. I'm originally from Kansas. And, we fell in love with the state. So moved to Bellingham, moved to the area for good in 2018, and now live in Linden, from Washington, D.C. And I'm adjunct faculty at Whatcom, like I said, in cybersecurity. But I'll be retiring from General Dynamics end of August, and starting full-time at Whatcom for the fall quarter. And I also am working with the National Cybersecurity Training and Education Center, also known as the Insight Center, which is based at Whatcom Community College. I kind of collect degrees. I've got a bachelor's in computer science, which took me 18 years. So I never look at anybody odd for taking more than 4 years. I've got a master's in network security, a master's in technology management, and then a doctorate in information assurance. And I got all 4 of those degrees while I was working full time. So I totally get what it feels like to try to do education and work at the same time. I'm a big fan. I really like to speak publicly. I've talked at a lot of national conferences. I'm kind of scaling back with my retirement from GDIT. I'm scaling back to regional conferences. I talked at B-Sides Vancouver last year. I was scheduled to talk there again this year, postponed until September. I talked at the TAG Summit, which was a really great event, and look forward to that happening again this year. I am also involved in planning conferences for NIST, the Community College Cybersecurity Summit. I'm on their planning committee. And I'm a regular guest presenter at NASA's agency-wide security awareness program. Locally, I'm co-sponsor of TAG's cybersecurity meeting, which we have monthly with David Hirsch. The next guest is Eric Fredheim from Western Washington University. So that'll be in May. Let's see. And I'm very interested in community outreach, especially with my retirement from my 60 to 70 hour a week job. I really want to do a lot of giving back to the local tech community, which is why I got involved with TAG. It's a great outlet for that. Personally, and I'm rediscovering this now that we are living in the area. I'm a big fan of live music. I went to the Mount Baker Rhythm and Blues Festival last fall for the first time. Phenomenal, out at the Deming Log Show Fairgrounds. And in January, for the second year in a row, I went to the concerts as part of the Bellingham Folk Festival. And if you guys aren't familiar with that and like acoustic folk music, that's a phenomenal experience. I play golf, not well, but I enjoy it. So if you need someone, you know, that you can point to and say, I'm doing better than he is, then, you know, I'm your guy.
It seems like a
I guess
skill that might be a little like, who trusts a person that's really, really good at golf?
exactly.
Sure.
And I'm coming up this spring. End of May will be my 41st wedding anniversary.
Well, congratulations. Thanks, Carl. Anything that you would like me to put you on the spot about?
No, I tried to cover everything so you wouldn't have a target.
Yeah. I was going to ask the what was sort of one of the complexities of moving from the East Coast to the West Coast and living in both worlds. You talked a little bit about that at the top, and I wondered if you could add a bit of advice, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, the advantage is I've been working remotely, but the first year I was here, I was probably in Virginia 75% of my time. And that was probably my biggest challenge is I had to teach my management that I could work remotely, because they kept wanting me back within an arm's reach. Because what I do for them is I lead technical teams in developing solutions for contracts. And they just insist that you all have to be standing around the whiteboard drawing diagrams. You can't be doing it virtually. So it's been, once I got there since September, I've been here. And it's been good practice for everybody going fully remote. But yeah, that was the biggest challenge, was getting them convinced that I could be remote and still be.
Excellent. Thanks, Carl. I think we're having internet issue on my end. One moment. Can everybody hear me right now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I also noticed that everyone in here is super respectful IT people. I see everybody's muted when people are talking.
Yeah.
That's a rarity. It's a rarity.
Awesome. Thanks, Austin and Carl. I wanted to introduce Garth Johnson from DIS, and we'll get to know Garth a little bit. Garth, you want to start off the top with some similar introduction and
the storyline?
Yeah, a little bit about Linux Fest at the end here.
Sure.
Save that for
last. I was born in Seattle. I moved on a sailboat with my parents when I was 3. We lived out in the water from Alaska down to Panama until I was about 10 years old. We moved back onto land at that point into south end of Lake Whatcom. Grew up going to Acme, if anybody even knows where that is. And then out there in good old Deming, what a scope change from living on the water to living on land with a bunch of logger kids. I started out electronics when I was before elementary school. My first present from my stepdad was a piece of 3/4 inch plywood with some felt pen drawings on it and a couple of crystals and a headphone set. It was a crystal radio with all the diagrams and whatnot for the electronics schematics. By the time I was in high school, I had a computer and was programming, had one of the first Tiris 80s that ever hit Bellingham. Dad special ordered it to try to keep me out of trouble, give me something to do.
Was that successful?
That's a story for a drinking night.
Right.
Yes and no. Mixed results there. But it did get me very excited in, how each of us learns differently. For me, having the old guy down at the the Radio Shack down off of Lakeway, being willing to take time to mentor a snot-nosed kid who just had nothing but questions was invaluable. And having my father being patient enough to listen to all my questions as well, and actually answer them, and not just send me off to go do something else and stop bothering him. By the time I was 16, I joined the military, went into the Army, early active duty. I went to Fort Sam, trained to be a psychiatric nurse. From there, I then retrained 2 years later to be a missile command specialist. And then finally, as a drill instructor, before I exited the military, came back and decided I want to do consulting. Kind of travel all over the place, all over the world, doing security audits and things like that. Found that while that was decent money, there was a lot of feast and famine that happened doing that as just a consultant. And found that I had a much more stable income doing service contracts, doing one-off and random questions for many companies was a much more stable income for the family. I moved out to the north end of Arizona, homeschooled my kids, and treated them to the same electronics education that my father did with me, to the end that each of the we had 3 buildings, 2 for the boys, 1 for the boys, 1 for the girls, and then the parents / dining area. And during our homeschooling class, we made the kids design their own charge controllers for their solar panels. So if they didn't do a good job at it, they didn't have power at night. They had to redo them a few times. They got good at it.
They probably got really good at that.
Yeah, they did.
Screen
They
time.
did. The boys decided that they had to really pay attention because they used their laptops more than the girls did for some reason, mostly gaming, I suspect, and sucked their batteries down pretty quick. So they found ways to optimize the morning and evening sun off of those panels. But in the process of doing the homeschooling, I found that I really did enjoy that education process, watching that light sparkle, and Ryan is another person who does this, and I really admire what he does with the sea monsters. When these kids get the idea of what's there in front of them, that they can actually access and make things happen in this virtual world and in the real world and connect the two, it's a really edifying thing. It really pays for the time invested, to accomplish that. So about a year after the kids left home, I was still out in the backwoods doing a remote support for customers, entirely virtual. So this whole thing, staying at home, is nothing new to me. I was off grid, 45 miles away from the nearest road, and I'm actually quite fine and quite happy in my little secluded log cabin here.
Yes,
but I met my wife.
Coronavirus is not too disturbing for the hermits amongst us.
No, I'm kind of enjoying it. But I met my wife and better half, and found that distant relationships really weren't the thing for me, and I really do love Bellingham. So we came back to Bellingham area. There is a magnet, I think, in the middle of Bellingham that draws the residents back. If you've been here for more than a few years, warning, if you want to get out now. If you've only been here for a few, it draws you back. And once I got here, I started meeting some amazing people. I didn't know that some of these groups existed when I left. I don't think they did. I think they spawned after I left. Things like the Bellingham Linux Users Group, which is, of course, the sponsors for the Linux Fest Northwest. The Makerspace downtown, which is just a phenomenal resource for the entire community. It's now located out in the mall. You don't have the tools to build something, that's the place to go. Once we're back out of quarantine, I really recommend everybody look up the Makerspace and get involved there. And of course, TAG Northwest has been, not to toot your horn too much there, Michael, but you connect the dots. And this is something that has been incredibly educational for me, but mostly just edifying. Being able to connect to other people, other professionals. Austin, I would have met through Augie, one of my interns, but Carl, I would never have met, and many of these other folks, Ryan, all these people, I would not have connected to without having the resources of TAG. So when Michael brought up to our mentorship and membership crew last year about the idea of doing STEM education as well, it I said yes, and I'm looking very forward to working with all these wonderful people and these amazing groups we have in Bellingham to making something uh, more available to the kids. We've got kids, like my own grandkids are out there in Everson School. They don't have near the facilities that the kids in Bellingham have. It'd be nice to be able to provide those to those kids as well. But all the way on up through college too. We've got a lot of opportunities through the mentorship program as well to make it easier for our college students to actually get jobs and effectively perform them once they get there. And I think that's a big goal for me. It's where I think most of my energy and excitement comes from. So for Linux Fest, I'm one of the organizers for the last 3 years. There are some amazing people out there at the Linux Fest, and every year it's always surprising what shows up. We were talking before the meeting here. I think Austin or somebody was talking about they were looking at some of the videos online. Was it Aaron? Yeah, it was Aaron. And there, we translated over to a virtual style pretty quickly, fairly easily. We tried to do the games night. I don't think that quite kicked off as well as we were hoping, but we'll do a better job next year of having both virtual and physical presentations. One of the things that happened last year at the end of each cycle, each Linux Fest, we do a recap. And if you ever go to the Linux Fest, please do fill out the surveys. It's where we get a lot of the information how to improve it. One of the most common critiques that we had was there was nothing for the kids. That kids would show up, and Austin used to run the game den at one point, and we still have a game den. And that's something to do, but it's not really the purpose of Linux Fest. Linux Fest and Blog are founded on the idea of education and community connections. And gaming doesn't really supply that, and we all felt that, and obviously our members that were attending the conference felt that there wasn't enough of an educational opportunity for the kids. And in the past, I think the attitude might have been that, kids aren't interested in Linux, but that's not true, especially now in the day of Raspberry Pis, especially Raspberry Pi Zeros, $5, $10 for a component, you blow it up, no big deal. And it runs Linux. So we can do some amazing stuff now with mind test servers on these little Raspberry Pis. The kids can do electronic experiments as well as software and learn lots. And so we decided this year, unfortunately it was a bust because of the quarantine, but we were going to have a kids tracks area on the second floor of the college devoted to not only the sea monsters, which we usually have, but other groups as well. Carl's son is one of the Scratch programmers. We were going to work together to have some demonstrations and some hands-on tutorials with that and several other projects. So looking towards next year, expect to see a lot of that implemented full-fledged. We'll get an extra year of planning on it, so it should be a little better formed this time. And that's my overly long-winded spew.
No, thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I enjoy sort of collecting folks with similar passions, and I think that's why we're here and talking about what we're up to, and also looking forward to what's to come. Coronavirus has definitely thrown a massive wrench into our plans, and as well as the whole entire universe or whatever. But we are hopeful to put some of those plans together this summer, as well as sort of look to fall and hope it has, let's say, a minor amount of normalcy. I think everybody's hoping for that.
Find the opportunities where we can.
Yeah. So thanks everyone. Does anybody have any questions for the membership committee while we're on it? Let's go with that.
That's an easy response.
that means we nailed it. So thanks everyone. I wanted to leave with a little highlight on Linux Fest. If you could, Garth, just a little bit more about what's happening right now and what's available online, as well as where to get there. So
sure. So lfnw.org is the Linux Fest website, and they've moved everything online. We did a quick turn right before the fest, decided that it was not going to be a physical in-person fest, and that we would make everything video based. Thankfully, almost all of our presenters were able to create videos. So those are online now. You can go to the website and see the links to those, as Aaron was commenting on. There's even a forum so you can discuss with those presenters as if you were there. It's a little slower, obviously, because it's through a forum system. But that is there, so you can actually interact with the presenters as well. And I think going forward, we're going to see if we can't keep that facet of how we do the fest permanently, because we're seeing a lot of response to it. People are really liking the easy access to all the content. Even if we did have the in-person presentations, being able to refer back to them or to show somebody else who wasn't able to attend is a really helpful thing, and I think a lot of people are enjoying that.
Yeah, I do think that's something that we'll take out of this time is, sort of these expanded systems and content available, and sort of let's call it a parallel experience that can extend what
we haven't obviously got it nailed down perfectly, but it's a learning process. But I think we've learned a lot, and this is something that has really added to our tool belt to how to better serve the community, to get that information available and to make it stay available, not just at the fest, but something you can refer to or to share throughout the year with other people that may not have seen the content. And yeah, I like this as looking at this as an opportunity to how we can improve, how we can serve the community better. And it definitely has given us lots of opportunities.
Awesome. So thanks for more of a insight as to what's happening there. I wanted to close with a few things. One was the next BLUG meeting will feature yours truly talking about the Pinebook Pro, and thanks to some of the work that we've done, as well as donations from Carl, we have sort of a mini fleet of Pinebook Pros ready to be put to good use. And so I'm going to go a little bit into those plans, as well as some of the development that's happening on the Pinebook Pros right now. I have one personally, and use that as my daily driver, separate from tag topics. So I have a little more insight and experience as to how those are going to be working. And things are just a little bit of a tease. Things are going pretty fast at the moment in development, and so I would say in the next month or two, they're already pretty capable machines now, but it'll be pretty interesting how capable they are for a $200 device. And I'll also share, Garth is probably in ownership of more SBCs per capita in Bellingham.
It's an addiction.
Than anyone I know. So yes, we share the love of that kind of development. Great. Well, thanks everyone. So we're going to essentially close here. Thanks to Austin, Carl, and Garth for sharing a little bit more about themselves. And we're going to transition into more of an open discussion time